Hi everyone, my name is Ask Joshi, and this is a quick deck guide for Marvel Snap. It uses cards entirely from Pool 1, which is up to collection level 214. A lot of the cards they give you right at the beginning. It does feature some Avengers, but the name of the deck is Squirrel Girl's Churls, and you can see the entire list just above me here in this overlay that I use for live streaming, but it'll work just as well for this guide. The focus of this deck is to play cards that have 2, 3, or 4 times as much power as they have energy cost. So, for example, the Hulk has 12 power for 6 energy, Jessica Jones has 4 power for 4 energy, but she very often hits 8 instead of 4, so that's a 2-for-1 power to energy value. So now we'll go through each of the cards and I'll show you how they fit into the deck. So the first thing to keep in mind when building a new deck is your energy curve, and that is the cost of each of these cards above me here. So you'll see a bunch of 1 costs, 2 costs, and 3 costs, and less 4, 5, and 6 costs, because those are basically going to be our finishers, and you don't want to be holding a handful of 5 and 6 cost cards that are powerful, but you're actually unable to ever cast. So you'll see a lot of decks actually only have 1, 5, and 6 cost card as a result of that, and America Chavez is a very popular finisher as a result of that. But we're going to go through each card here now and show you the cost and how much power they can possibly get, as well as some possible alternatives. So we'll start in the center here with Ant-Man. He costs 1 for 1 power, but if you have 3 other cards here, you get plus 3 power. Squirrel Girl and Sinister and some others actually help out Ant-Man. Here's Squirrel Girl. On reveal, add a 1 power squirrel to each other location. So she's almost always good for 3 power for just 1 cost, but the fact that she also plays well with Ant-Man, Wolfsbane, Angela, and Captain America mean that there are multiple synergies here for Squirrel Girl. And actually, I didn't get Squirrel Girl, even though she is the namesake of this deck, until collection level 214. I was running Mr. Fantastic, who I can show you in just a moment. Here he is. Ongoing adjacent locations have plus 2 power. So I was playing Mr. Fantastic because he was 6 power for only 3 cost, but it ended up being up too expensive when you also have Wolfsbane and Captain America, as well as the other higher cost cards in the deck. So Squirrel Girl replaced Mr. Fantastic as a possible variation. And Rocket Raccoon is the last 1-drop I have in the deck. I actually did end up replacing Rocket Raccoon once I got to Pool 2, and 2 very good replacements for Rocket are Elektra, who very often will kill a 1-drop with a lot of power on turns 5 or 6, as well as Korg, who feels pretty good at any point in the game except for turn 6, because that rock that you shuffle into your opponent's deck very often will pop up in their hand. Rocket, on the other hand, has a drawback of the fact that he can be worth 4 power for just 1 cost, but he very often misses. On turn 1, they have a 33% chance of actually hitting Rocket and a 66% chance of going to a different lane, and not to mention the fact that some decks just don't play 1-drops at all. So Rocket is a little bit weak, a little bit underperforming, but we needed a 1-drop and didn't actually have Korg or Elektra to start off, so I would probably recommend a change for that card at this point. Now for the 2-drops, Angela is actually one of the best cards in Pool 1 for any low-cost deck that can play a bunch of cards after her in a lane. When you play a card here plus 2 power, it means that she can get 7 power for only 2 energy by the end of the game. Very strong. Not a lot of great alternatives and not a lot of great 2-drops in Pool 1, to be honest. Mr. Sinister is another one that feels almost like filler. Functions similar to Squirrel Girl in that it does create another card in a lane. The clone that comes out does benefit from locations that buff units with no powers, and also just having extra cards there benefit Wolfsbane, Captain America, and Ant-Man, so that's why Mr. Sinister makes the cut. Lizard is actually not my favorite card, but it does 2 things. It does drop 5 power for 2 energy late in the game if you've got turn 6 and no finisher. It is a considerable amount for only 2 energy. The drawback, though, is the ongoing minus 3 power if your opponent has 4 cards here. The plus side of this is if you drop it on turn 2, it will act as a sort of magnet. Sometimes your opponent will want to play more cards there just to get that power down. So Lizard sometimes can bite you at the end of a game if you've got Iron Man in the lane and then he gets minus 3 power out of nowhere. It can really screw up your win condition, but until Pool 2, there's really not a lot of better overvalued power to energy cost 2-drops, so that's why Lizard makes the cut. For our 3-drops, they're pretty self-explanatory. Wolfsbane on reveal, plus 2 power for each other card you have here. So basically like a reverse Angela can get up to 7 power for only 3 energy. You play it in a lane that's already slammed full of squirrels or Sinister clones, or Ant-Man's there already. Wolfsbane gets played a lot for 7 on 3. Captain America, usually good for 6 power on 3 energy because he's buffing 3 other cards. Sometimes ongoing effects are doubled. Iron Man likes to play in the Captain America lane as well because it gives Iron Man himself +1 power. And that's pretty much it for the 3 drops. Not a lot of glamour there. Jessica Jones, very self-explanatory. You want to get 8 power for 4 cost as often as you can. Try and get her in a lane where you've already seen the 5 or 6 drops in your hand, and you want to put Jessica Jones somewhere where Klaw, Iron Man, or Hulk will not go. Jessica Jones, and then turn 5 somewhere else, and then Hulk in the same lane as Jessica Jones is worth 20 by those 2 cards alone, so keep that in mind. Iron Man is a staple card of this because he can double those lanes with Mr. Sinister or Squirrels, etc. to make them even more valuable. We're not playing Khazar or other buffs like that. Iron Man really does like to pair with Ant-Man or Captain America. And if you have an empty lane, then Iron Man followed by Hulk is actually 24 power in a lane from 0 on turn 4. So Iron Man and Hulk do great together. Klaw is probably one of the best 5 drops in my opinion, just because he's 10 power, 4 in one lane and 6 in another. That often ends up being even more power, and Iron Man then gets to choose whether he wants to sit in the lane with Klaw or in the lane with the +6 added from Klaw that cannot really be removed except by Enchantress on turn 6, which Iron Man also suffers from. So Iron Man, Klaw, and Hulk are our finishers. Whenever you get to turn 5, you're going to have one of these 3 cards most of the time. Otherwise, you're just spewing out whatever cards you have left that cost less than that. But Iron Man, Klaw, and Hulk will be your game deciders more often than not. So that is the premise of the deck. Squirrel Girls Churls. You could also just call it Hulk Smash, Avengers Assemble. Really basic, straightforward kind of Legos, building blocks on top of each other, synergies but no combos that can really be destroyed. Enchantress and Elektra are kind of counters to some of the things in this deck, and there could be some improvements at both 1-drop with Rocket Raccoon as well as 2-drop with Lizard. So yeah, play with some additional cards, play with some variations of this, but this got me from rank 40 to 60 with relative ease in just about 5 hours of play. So I recommend it for anyone just starting out in Marvel Snap looking for a deck to begin with. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the guide, I hope that you will like, subscribe, and reply if you feel like it, and let me know if the deck did well for you or any changes that you would make in the comments. See you next time.